Welcome to the Forever Better Academy podcast, where you will be given the principles, tools, and techniques to reach the next stage on your journey of self-mastery. Who could you become? I'm your host, Wade Vincent. Every single one of us, without exception, has a unique gift that we can offer to the world. My name is Wade Vincent, and you are here once again with another episode of the Forever Better Academy podcast. Now, today, this is one that I think that it needs to be shared, and people need to be reminded of what they have to give and what they have to offer to the world, because it's very easy at times to think that you don't have anything special, or you don't have anything, any unique talent, and you just feel sometimes like, those great things weren't meant for you. So I really would love to go through this today with you, the importance of identifying what those things are that you possess that are unique and special and valuable to others, and the importance of taking ownership, accepting the gifts you've been given and using them for the benefit to empower other people. Right. So when I was younger, I have tried lots of different things, lots of crafts. Very much, I'm always fascinated by process and mastery and learning how to become the very best I can be at a given skill, whatever I'm pursuing at the time. So this probably started the earliest that I can recall something grabbing my attention and wanting to be great at it was sports when I was a kid. So right from probably when I was maybe 11 years old, around then, I was just fascinated by basketball. I couldn't get enough. I started out when I was younger playing soccer, and I loved soccer and just being sporty and competitive and trying to do my very best. But something about basketball just grabbed me, right? You know when there's those things and you find something and it just it takes all of your attention and concentration and focus and determination, because you're intrigued, you're curious about it, and that's a good signal. That's the first thing to be aware of and try to pick up on when you're trying to establish and figure out what you're good at, or how to discover what your talents are. It has to revolve around something you enjoy. That's the first and foremost. It's the key thing, because you don't get good at things that you don't like doing. You're never going to put the work in and the effort required to master a skill if you absolutely hate doing it, right? So simplest, most straightforward and logical approach is to focus on what you like as the first step in the foundation, right? So I was absolutely, enthralled by basketball. I just couldn't get enough, like learning how to be clever with my passes and the way I dribbled the ball and the athleticism of it, and just movement and flow and the spectacle of the game, right? And I wanted that to be my career, right? I wanted to grow up and play basketball in the NBA. I want to be in the greatest league in the world, right? And this is like, I'm like a 5'10" white guy in Australia, right? Like I can jump, but I it wasn't really, my destiny, so to speak. And this is part of, the next step in the understanding, which is a valuable lesson that only comes about in hindsight, and for all my youthful exuberance and excitement and dedication, beyond what I loved and what I practiced, another thing that has to be factored in is, do you have the genetic gifts or skills, physical traits perhaps, that that will enhance your opportunities and abilities to master and succeed in that craft, because these things are still factored in, right? Like someone like a Muggsy Bogues, if you know basketball from the sort of that '90s era, Tyrone Muggsy Bogues played for Charlotte Hornets and was, I think, the smallest person in the NBA virtually ever. I think it was like 5'3", and that's only one person ever, right? So this is a nice reminder that anything's possible, right? With the right work and finding how to play to your strengths. But the league is not full of 5'3" people because they're far less likely to be physically equipped to not only take their hard work and their natural talent perhaps they have in the sport, but they've got the trifecta of also being built for that chosen craft, right? So it's very important to also play on your strengths. So this was a lesson that I learned. As good as I was at basketball, and as passionate as I was, and as much as I enjoyed it and dedicated and committed the time to my training and working on it, I was still lacking in the other aspects that would have helped me excel and succeed at a career in a chosen path of basketball, right? So as I say, I did many different things, right? So from basketball, when I was in my sort of mid-teens, I got into skateboarding, and I was just fascinated by, again, the aerial tricks and flow and flying through the air and just motion, right? Like just patterns. I'm picking up on the things that interest me. I'm seeing the same kind of things intrigue me in different crafts or disciplines, right? So skateboarding, I was more equipped to, you don't, if you're taller in skateboarding, it's not an advantage like it is in basketball. Sometimes it's a bit better being a little shorter for skateboarding. It has less barriers to entry, shall we say, right? So I was, all I could think about, same thing, skateboarding. I had, I covered my walls. I'd take pictures out of magazines back in the day, right? Magazines, do kids read magazines? So I'd get like Trans World and Slam and all these like skate mags, and I'd cut the pages out of skaters, mid-flight photos, doing tricks downstairs and grinding on handrails and getting air on vert ramps, and I'd put them all over my walls like wallpaper, so there was not an inch of paint you could see. It was my entire room I was immersed in skateboarding. I just couldn't get enough. Just watching skate videos when I wasn't skateboarding, getting on the internet and looking at like trick techniques and tips and how to do the moves that I was learning. And naturally, that's an even smaller window with skateboarding to take it as a professional career, right? Like it's I'd say potentially more challenging than basketball, or even less opportunities to turn that into a career, right? So that's the third part of the lesson. Part of it is beyond picking what you're intrigued by and loving what you do and what fascinates you, aligning that with a activity that plays on your natural strengths and abilities that help enhance your capabilities. And third is understanding the opportunity to be paid for that craft or whatever your unique skill set is. So is there a market? Is it in demand? Are people wanting what you have to offer? So there's those key things. Those three things are very powerful to help understand and align whatever the chosen craft is that you choose. Has to sort of, for it to excel and you to succeed, and make that your career and your life, those things come into play. Now, what's important to remember is I didn't get disheartened, and it didn't make me feel like I'd wasted my time, or I was any less of a player at basketball because I didn't have the avenue to become a professional basketball player. It it just allowed me to enhance and refine my approach to find out what my unique skill is that aligns with all of those three things. So I believe honestly with all my heart every single person on this planet has a unique talent and gift that's slightly different. Like there might be someone that does similar to what you do, but they don't do what you do how you do it, right? And you can definitely absolutely find your gift that falls within what intrigues you, what you're genetically advantaged to do, playing to your strengths, and that there's a market for that people want. Every one of us has this inside of us, and it's just about experimenting and learning and going through life and lessons to refine it and figure out what it is. So I ultimately wanted to really just live a life of purpose, and I'd be very surprised if anybody out there doesn't want to have purpose, right? Maybe you'll call it a different thing, but in the grand scheme of things, we all need something to dedicate our lives to, right? The gift of life that we've been given, how are we going to use it? What are we going to do with this gift that's beneficial, that empowers other people, right? If you can go through the motions and try lots of different things and take your learnings, what you're figuring out, what occurred when I tried this, what was the outcome, tweak and refine it, and then you'll be able to further progress closer to that and eventually, discover what that purpose is that aligns, that empowers other people, and you're able to make a living from. So as I said, I tried all kinds of different things, and from skateboarding, right? From there, the next thing that intrigued me was breakdancing, b-boying, right? So same thing, similar, the aerial, acrobatics of it, the flow, the motion, flying through the air. Same things are appealing to me, right? I'm still aligned with what matters, or what captures my interest and I'm engaged in and I'm curious about, but I'm pivoting and shifting to things that are adjacent or align with more of a likelihood for me to make success from and make a living from, and I enjoy doing, right? So I was performing and doing shows in clubs and competing, and going to events and going around the country. It was fun, like it was really my gateway into hip hop. It started through b-boying, and discovering that element of hip hop, right? And then all from there, it moved into other elements of hip hop, being graffiti and emceeing, and graffiti was it was about the artistic endeavor, the colors, the flow of the letters, again more flow, right? Patterns and how things moved and how I constructed things. So I started to see that I was taking the things that were interesting me and intriguing me, and then refining and improving and niching down, which is important. You have to refine it down, because that's how you find what's unique about your skill that you have to offer. Is you have to position down, not go wide, that anyone can offer what you're offering. You have to really refine it and scale it down to the thing that is a combination of all these different elements that you've experienced and you're intrigued by, and that people feel empowered by you when you offer these things. And then ultimately you can pinpoint it down, and exactly what it is, and it's the unique thing that no one else can do. It's no one else has your experience and your lessons and learnings. So when you refine everything you've experienced and gone through, and you can define it and push it down and package it in that everything you've gone through has come down to this very skill and moment, and you've utilized all those lessons and talent that you have and your natural strengths, you can make a wonderful living, and your craft is yours, and no one else will do it like you. No one in the entire world. So from there, right, like I got into the emceeing, and it was the same, right? It was intrigue around flow and movement again, and then it also took from the patterns, right, with graffiti, and then I started to see that my words were empowering to people. The way that I structured my sentences, or my rhyme patterns, or the cadence, or how I delivered and projected my stories and my messages, and I started to see for the first time this was something that people were drawn to, that I was good at, and what I could give that was making a difference, and having people come and tell you that what you're doing is meaningful to them, and is starting to be able to create a product that I can sell, and I can see money coming in, and I'm starting to learn my craft, learn my trade, and understand the dynamic of the market, right? So I've again pivoted and shifted, and I've taken those words and the structure and patterns and all the things that, again, I felt like flow and rhythm and harmonies, all these things that exist across all these different things that I've dedicated myself to, and in learning and mastering and growing, right? And I a lot of people, it's important to remember, a lot of people will try to tell you what's good for you. And there's nothing wrong with that, because they have good intentions. For the better part, most people will have good intentions when they're trying to give you that. But ultimately, and I'm guilty of that too, I offer people advice, what I think might be good for them. This is part of the podcast too. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you take that advice, and if it's not relevant to you and doesn't resonate or mean anything to you, you don't have to use it or utilize it. It's you can listen, and you can say thank you and move on. Don't let other people define what's right for you. Only you can define what your calling and what your craft is, and what you are going to do and offer to the world that empowers others, right? So just wanted to throw that in. It's important to remember, and while all this was happening, and in the same time, I needed to support myself. So I'm working a job as a chef, and ultimately, I chose to do a trade as a chef because my mum said, "Why don't you be a chef?" I never had any pre-existing desire or intrigue around food or cooking, but I learned to appreciate and value and love it, and I'm grateful for the experience in learning that life skill, and I learned to appreciate and value the artistic element of it, and the flow when you're in rhythm, and you're cooking to that capacity in a restaurant where there's hundreds of people, and you're just in the zone, and it's all coming together, and your timing's right, and that element appealed to me. And perhaps that's why my mum suggested it, because she was knowledgeable in what that craft and that job entailed, and she'd seen me growing up and the things that appealed to me and what was of interest, and maybe she thought, hey, this might be something that is enticing to you to pursue, because it has similar elements, right? So I learned to value it and appreciate from the graffiti side, the art of it, the beauty of the food on the plate and the presentation, and then seeing someone value your work and appreciate it, and feel thankful for the meal or enjoy the flavors, right? So there was definitely overlap in elements, but it came to a point where I remember I was deciding, and I had to pick between, did I want to go all out in my chefing career or pursue music? And I made that ultimate choice and said, in my heart, I knew, I'm like, it has to be music. I want to be a rapper and tell stories and empower people through my words, because I'd seen the impact that it was making, and I enjoyed it. I loved doing it. I was committed to it, I was passionate about. It intrigued me, every element of the structure, and how to precisely, in the most perfect way, utilize words to make people feel things, right? You know, like it's addictive. It's like a drug when you feel the impact that your efforts are making on other people, right? So I remember making that call in my heart, clear as that I'm committed to music, and I quit my job as a chef, and became a starving artist and was performing and making very little money, but was happy. And like I couldn't have known what I wanted to pursue, or what I enjoyed, or what I was good at, until I went through all these different things. And sometimes it can feel daunting or frustrating, or like you're never going to get there, right? When you're trying to understand who you are and what your purpose is, what you're good at, and what you have to offer to the world, when you haven't found your calling yet, sometimes it's daunting. It feels like you're never going to find it, but you will. I promise. You just have to keep trying lots of different things, and as I said, find those things that are adjacent with similar elements that make up what that craft is built upon, that appeal to you. You'll find those things as you go through, time, and it takes time. It really does take time. Life, you don't have the knowledge of a 50-year-old and the life experience of a 50-year-old at 20. You can't possibly. Everything that we are, who we are, what we're made up of, and our deepest desires and dreams and fears and goals, and everything that we are is a culmination of every experience we've gone through and how we interpret it, and that defines us as who we are, and our identity, and how we envision ourselves, right? Now, one of the things that is important to think about is when I say that I'd committed, unequivocally just committed. I knew I'd made the commitment to pursue music. You have to make that call. Once you've figured out what is your thing, right? What is your purpose, your meaning, the thing you love, that you're passionate about, that you can give to the world, that will empower other people? Go all in. Don't half do it. Commit to it. Give it everything you've got, right? And the only way for you to and there's no guarantee of success. That's the thing, right? The only way to potentially achieve the success you're chasing is to commit fully. You can't half commit. You can't find your thing but be afraid that it might not work out, so you don't give it your all, because that's almost guaranteeing it won't work out. It can't work out if you're not obsessed with it, and it's your, every waking moment you want to think about and do this thing, and you're just driven by it. It's what you want to spend your life doing. That's probably the simplest way I can put it. What do you want to spend your life doing? If you can answer that question 99.9% of the time, that's the thing you should be doing, as long as it's not hurting anybody, and that you can, make a successful living off it. That's the thing. That's it. What do you want to spend your life doing? You don't overthink it. I did that for a while too. Before I got to that point where I'd made that decision, I was overthinking, too much. What if this happens? What about this? You just got to feel it, know, let your inner child tell you, and just commit fully and go all in, right? So once you've done that, do more of what you love. Do it more. Embrace it. Just live it, right? Live it. And you have to find the way to make a living from it. You have to be paid for it, And this was a challenge too when I was brought up in that hip hop world that, compromising for money was selling out, right? And selling yourself and your integrity for money is selling out. Making money from your craft is not selling out. And that was a hard lesson that I had to learn, because I was resistant and pushed back on compromising. Not compromising on refining my offering. And I've spoke about this before, in that I was very much my downfall with music was I was very much making music and songs for myself. And although I had been given glimmers of people that had come to me and said they were inspired and sent me messages and come and see me at shows and tell me what my music meant to them, it was only sort of, it wasn't that mass scale and adoption, because I wasn't looking to the market. And this is important. This is a lesson that I was hard learned for me, hard earned. You have to look at what the market wants and give the market what they want. Now that's not selling out. You're helping other people. What do the people want? What are you good at? How can you combine what you're good at, and package it in a way that people, what they're after, and it's a value exchange where both parties win, right? Wouldn't you love to be paid to do what you love doing? And I'm sure, wouldn't you love to receive what you're after in exchange for the money that you possess? That's absolutely the way it works, right? So I was too caught up making music the way I felt music should make, in the way that I liked to consume music, or the music I liked. I made it too internal, too much for myself and not for others, and that was my greatest downfall in music. Now that I can look back, and hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? So you've really got to ensure that your craft is, as I said, packaged in a way that people are asking you to do so, right? And from there, once I was very lost. Once I had to accept, the fact, and this is the thing too. Perhaps I could have, pursued music further with the lessons and the learnings that I'm aware of now. I could absolutely tweak my offering and understand how better to approach the market. But I feel now I'm in a different stage in my life where that served its purpose, and it's positioned me now into the new part of my life now, this chapter in my journey, where I'm doing this. I'm still telling stories, right? It's that adjacency, the flow of words, the rhythm, the cadence, how I project, how I present this to you. It's again, I've shifted and pivoted, and it's reignited my passion and heart, because I'm talking to people with stories like I was before, and there's flow, and the way I construct my sentences and wording, and how I articulate this and offer this to you, and knowing that it makes an impact and empowers others. It's nourishing, and it feels wonderful to do that. So then again, you see, I shift and pivot, and I've still taken the things that appeal to me, and you know what's beautiful, and that's like instant epiphany that dawns on me right now, is if you're trying so hard to find your purpose in life, right? And you feel like you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, or you'll do something like I have, and it excites you for the moment, and it doesn't pan out, and it doesn't become your lifelong career or whatever it may be, and you try a different thing, but you get enjoyment from that thing, and you're great and excited, and you're good at it for a while, and it doesn't work out, and you go to the next thing. You've spent your life well. You enjoy what you do. Like I don't look back in regret and feel remorseful because I didn't become a pro basketball player or a professional skateboarder or a famous rap star or a world class chef. All of those things, b-boy, professional dancer, I love doing. They nourish my soul. I felt satisfied and I enjoyed every step of the way. None of it is wasted, and I've learned to take those skills and pivot and shift, and now I'm here talking to you guys, and I can create valuable content and take the lessons and combine not only what interests me, but also the lessons that I've learned, and package that in a story in a way that, can give and empower others. And I feel like I'm closer than I've ever been to niching down on my unique gift. What I have to offer. I can do what I have within my power, based with the skills that I have, and play upon the strengths that I possess, and give to the world. There's always a market for improvement and people getting better and helping others, right? That's the indefinite market. So the greatest benefit from it all was, I get to work on what brings me happiness, and it makes a difference to others. It's truly a blessing when you feel satisfied and rewarded and as I say, nourished. I'm using it a lot, but it's a great way to explain it. You feel nourished by this, and then it's twofold, because you know that I'm not recording this podcast or the YouTube videos for myself, and naturally, like I learn and benefit from this because of working through the lessons that I've learned and talking through them, and it helps solidify them in my mind too. But knowing that it can I was just about to sneeze. Sorry guys. It makes a difference to others, and ultimately, when you get to that, you find harmony with your place in the world. It's wonderful, because you can't know until you get there, right? And then as evidence in my life, sometimes the purpose changes. Just keep going, and find that adjacency with the overlapping elements that you love and enjoy spending your life on. All right, guys. I hope that you've found value in today's episode, and ultimately, when you find your skill, give it to the world. Give it out freely. If it's your passion and your calling, you will never run out of it. You have abundance of it. So don't ever feel like you have to sort of keep it to yourself and cage it in. Give it, and just as much as you can. Never stop giving, because the more you give, the more you empower others, and the more beneficial it is, and it's a flow-on effect throughout the world. You always have more. There's more to give. All right? As always, who could you become? Thank you so much for being a part of Forever Better Academy and listening to the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Click the bell notification so you're notified when I release new episodes, which is every Friday, so you don't miss any episodes. And please share the content if you find value in it, and help spread the message so we can continue to empower others together. All right, guys. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you next week. See you later.